Hello Internet, I'm Jackie Fox, and today I'm going to be reading from Final Fantasy and Philosophy again. Until anybody gives me a reading they would prefer, this is going to be Chapter 4. This whole part of the book, which is Part 2, Playing the Game but What If It's Not a Game, is largely about Final Fantasy VII, environmentalism, and Gaia as it's represented across multiple video games. The third chapter of this is a little bit more broad, talking about how we deal with conscious life forms, and the kind of objectification of them. And I'm not entirely sure where they're going with that, but it should be interesting. But right now, I want to read the Lifestream, Mako, and Gaia. Tapping the Lifestream. Oh, it's by Jay Foster, by the way. The specter of ecological apocalypse is nothing new to science fiction and fantasy. The original Mad Max, 1979, portrayed an impoverished future brought to the brink of lawlessness by resource shortages, mainly oil. Likewise, Blade Runner in 1982 envisioned a dismal and polluted future for the Earth after a runaway human population has rapaciously consumed all available natural resources. But the ecological apocalypse leitmotif is given a distinct if not unique twist in Final Fantasy VII from 1997. In this installment of Final Fantasy, we are introduced to the Lifestream, a green-white fluid that is the source of all planetary life. When a person is born, energy is taken from the Lifestream. When he or she dies, the Lifestream is replenished with that person's energy in the form of his or her knowledge and memories. The Lifestream, however, can also be artificially extracted and used, with potentially devastating consequences. The same energy that makes the cycle of life and death is also tapped for magical and mundane power. Mako, energy extracted from the Lifestream, can be crystallized into materia, and materia in turn is the source of all magical power. It allows characters to cast spells, gives weapons and armor special properties. It can be used to summon creatures to help in battle. While Mako can be extracted in small quantities by natural processes, it can also be artificially extracted from the planet by Mako reactors. Artificially extracted Mako powers the mundane technology from cell phones to lights, which make everyday life comfortable for the planet's human inhabitants. Everyday technological comforts come at a high environmental cost, however. The artificial extraction of energy from the Lifestream destroys the environment around the Mako reactor. Furthermore, the artificially extracted Mako never returns to the Lifestream. When it is used, it is completely consumed, and so the Lifestream is gradually depleted. And, as the Lifestream is depleted, so is the capacity of the planet to support life. Mako in the world of Final Fantasy bears more than a passing resemblance to fossil fuels in the real world, such as crude oil and coal. Mako is extracted from under the crust of the planet, whereas fossil fuels are mined or pumped from the ground. Mako is formed in the life of the planet, where fossil fuels have been formed from the preserved remains of plants that have lived millions of years ago. Mako is the main source of energy to power the technology of the Final Fantasy world, whereas fossil fuels indirectly or directly power much but not all of modern technological society. By the way, this book was written in 2009, so just putting that out there. We have gotten a little bit better on that front since then. The extraction of Mako has serious environmental consequences. The sites of Mako extraction wither and die, and the use of Mako depletes the Lifestream. Similarly, the use of fossil fuels has significant environmental consequences. Drilling for oil and mining coal often harms local ecologies, while burning fossil fuels releases carbon dioxide and other gases that contribute to global climate change. Indeed, much as in our world, In the world of Final Fantasy, Mako reactors are run by a dark and powerful corporation, the Shinra Electric Power Company, that is the target of eco-terrorists, Avalanche. Mako and fossil fuels have some common features, but they are clearly not the same thing. In its material form, Mako is used for spellcasting and to add magical properties to weapons and armor. Fossil fuels can do neither of those things, of course. Nevertheless, this obvious conceptual similarities between Mako and fossil fuels invites us to think about the ecological concepts that inform the world of Final Fantasy in an effort to, perhaps, better understand the ecological concepts we use in the real world. So, what about the ecological concepts used in Final Fantasy show us about the ecological concepts we can use in the day-to-day world? To tackle this question, we need to do the philosophical work of conceptual analysis. Philosophers have different techniques for analyzing concepts, but, for the most part, the work involves taking a concept and either discovering the concepts that make it up, or attempting to clarify the concept by comparing it with other concepts. The following is a short exercise in conceptual analysis. We will attempt to clarify the concept of the Lifestream, which appears in the game Final Fantasy VII, but is more prominent in the Final Fantasy movies The Spirits Within 2001 and Advent Children 2005. As we have seen in Final Fantasy VII, the Lifestream, or spirit energy, is the source of all planetary life and can be refined into Mako energy. In the movies, the Lifestream concept is more obscure. Rather than Mako, there is Gaia, the spirit of the planet. Gaia produces the 8 spirits that together make an energy wave or beam that is transformed and repel the Phantom's alien and presumably incompatible life spirit. If the concept of Gaia at work in the Final Fantasy movies seems similar, that is because the concept is loosely derived from a concept at work in modern ecological science. In ecology, the Gaia hypothesis refers to a conjecture proposed by James Lovelock and Lynn Margulis that suggests that the Earth's biosphere is a self-regulating system that maintains conditions favorable to life. So we'll be asking to what extent the concept of Gaia proposed by Lovelock and Margulis is like the concept proposed in Final Fantasy. By examining the conception of Gaia from Final Fantasy, we can actually learn to sharpen and clarify our understanding of the concept of Gaia at work in the biological and ecological sciences. Avalanche versus Shinra. In the opening of the movie Advent Children, Marlene Wallace, the daughter of Avalanche eco-terrorist Barrett Wallace, tells us, "The Lifestream, that is what we call the river of life that circles our planet, giving life to the world and everything in it. The Shinra Electric Power Company discovered a way to use the Lifestream as an energy source. Because of Shinra's energy, we were all able to live very comfortable lives. Wasn't that because we were taking away from the planet's life? A lot of people thought so." We might understand what Marlene means by the Lifestream, literally or figuratively. If Marlene is being literal, she is giving a factual report about the actual properties and features of the Lifestream. If she is being figurative, then she is giving a merely metaphorical report. Her description will be somewhat like the Lifestream, but not exactly like it. The distinction here between the literal and the metaphorical matters here because each leads us to a very different conception of the Lifestream based on what Marlene is telling us. If Marlene is giving a factual report, then the Lifestream is a very strange thing indeed. The Lifestream is an actual river that encircles the planet, giving life to everything, and the planet itself is a living thing that is being killed because the Lifestream is being extracted. It is important to see that if Marlene's description is literal, then the planet or the world is a living thing, and presumably by this she means the planet is alive, as you are alive, or as a frog is alive. By offering this description, Marlene would be proposing a concept of the Lifestream that is either holist or organicist. Holism is the position that wholes are independent of or above and beyond the parts that make them up. If Marlene is giving a holist description of the Lifestream, then she is trying to say that the Lifestream is something more than the rocks, the trees, the critters, the planets, and the energies that make it up. Organicism is a position akin to, but subtly and importantly different from, holism. Organicism is the claim that parts cannot exist independently of the whole, just as a heart or a kidney cannot exist as a functioning organ without being part of a larger organism. If this is what Marlene is trying to say, then she would be claiming that fungi, trees, critters, and the planet can only exist insofar as they are each a part of a larger whole, in this case, the life stream. But what if Marlene is not giving a factual report and is instead giving a metaphorical account of the life stream? If Marlene is being metaphorical, the life stream is not exactly as she describes it, only somewhat like her description. In metaphorical descriptions, there's always considerable room to maneuver between the description offered and the way that things actually are in the world. So, if Marlene's description is metaphorical, not literal, we are free to interpret what she says. Once we allow ourselves the latitude to interpret what Marlene says metaphorically, we need not think of the life stream in either holist or organicist terms. For example, from Marlene's description, we might understand the life stream like this. The life stream is the name given to the total aggregate energy of the planet's environment. This energy circles the planet insofar as everything on the planet is ultimately energy. Everything on the planet is energy because we know from physics that all matter is simply one form of energy. The life stream may be described as giving life to everything because anything born on the planet simply takes up materials and energy from the planet. Shinra's artificial extraction of energy is killing the planet only because non-renewable energy is being extracted, depleting from the available planetary resources and causing pollution. If we were to accept this interpretation of Marlene's description of the life stream, then the life stream is simply and nothing more than the total energy in the planetary environment. By offering these claims, Marlene would either be proposing a reductionist or a mechanicist conception of the life stream. Reductionism claims that the properties of wholes are always among the characteristics or the properties of their parts. This is not to say that the whole thing has no property that is not a property of at least one of its parts. In other words, the life stream has no properties that aren't properties of the planet or the things on the planet. The life stream is living only because it is made up of some parts that are living things. Mechanicism offers the similar claim that the properties of wholes are caused by the parts that make them up. In this view, the parts of the life stream cause the life stream to be alive, even if none of the parts themselves are alive. Marlene's description of the life stream suggests that it may be one of two very different kinds of things. On the one hand, there is the holist organicist conception of the life stream. The life stream is not a unified whole that has distinct, unique properties not possessed by the rocks, the trees, the dirt, or the other bits that make it up. The life stream as a whole has properties not possessed by any of its parts. On the other hand, there is the reductionist mechanicist conception of the life stream, in which the life stream is nothing more than an assembly of the rocks, the trees, the dirt, and the other bits that make it up. All properties of the life stream are simply properties of the stuff that makes up the life stream, and the life stream has no additional or special or unique properties of its own. Deciding between those two conceptions of the life stream may seem inconsequential, but the underlying decision is a significant choice between two different and incompatible ways of thinking about the natural world. The conflict between Avalanche and Shinra is part of a conflict between these two incompatible views. On the one hand, there is the holist conception of the life stream held by the members of Avalanche. Tifa Lockhart, Barrett Wallace, and the other members of Avalanche conceive the life stream as a living whole from which all living parts of the world derive their life. On the other hand, there is the mechanicist conception of the life stream held by the employees of the Shinra Corporation, notably Professor Hojo and Scarlet. Much of the work of Shinra involves taking the Mako extracted from the life stream and using it as a simple, interchangeable part for various experiments and projects. Professor Hojo's experiments with combining Mako with Genova cells, while Scarlet oversees the creation of Mako weapons. The incompatibility of holist and mechanicist conceptions of the Lifestream ultimately brings Avalanche into violent confliction with Shinra. Dr. Sid meet Dr. Lovelock. Although the movie The Spirits Within has only a family resemblance with the game Final Fantasy VII, it also made use of the Lifestream concept. This may be because Hironobu Sakaguchi and Kazushige Nojima wrote the scripts for both the game and the movie. In The Spirits Within, the concept of the Lifestream becomes much more obscure. No longer is it possible to interpret the Lifestream as a metaphor for the flow of physical energy. Rather than a Lifestream that is composed of Mako, there is a Lifestream that is Gaia, the spirit of the planet. About halfway through the movie, Dr. Sid prompts Aki to read a passage from an old research diary. Dr. Aki Ross reading Sid's journal. All life is born of Gaia, and each life has a spirit. Each new spirit is housed in a physical body. Doctor? Dr. Sid. Go on. Dr. Aki Ross. Through their experience on Earth, each spirit matures and grows. When the physical body dies, the mature spirit, enriched by its life on Earth, returns to Gaia, bringing with it the experiences, enabling Gaia to live and grow. Here, Dr. Sid is proposing a radical, holistic conception of the Lifestream as an organic living creature that lives and grows by imbuing the physical form of things with a living spirit. During its life on the planet, the spirit grows with the accumulation of lived experience, and when it dies, the enlarged spirit returns to Gaia and nourishes it. Thus, the planet, or Gaia, is a single living organism with its own consciousness. I actually want to take a short break here for the War of the Visions community to point out that it is a very similar process that is being disturbed that both kind of leads to Sodali's both immense power and insanity, in that instead of passing on and the accumulation of his memories ending with his death, is immortality in the accumulation of memories, which is equated to his soul, which also, like, you know, we think about our souls as being the part of us that passes on into heaven within most religions, or some concept of that. So the idea of Lifestream as heaven, as the place you go after you die, the place that your soul goes, the place that your spirit goes, both of the Lifestream concepts that have been discussed so far, both within Final Fantasy VII and The Spirits Within, propose a very similar thing, except with, instead of the souls going there, you have the memories returning to the planet in this way, or returning to heaven in this way. Anyways. In the 1970s and 1980s, the atmospherologist Dr. James Lovelock and the microbiologist Dr. Lynn Margulis framed what is now called the Gaia hypothesis. The hypothesis, which was entirely unlike the concept proposed. The hypothesis, which was entirely unlike the concept proposed by Dr. Sid, did not suggest that the planet Earth was a living creature, that the Earth has a spirit, or that the Earth is a goddess. Rather, it argued that the Earth's biosphere, including both biota and the physical environment, could be understood as a self-regulating system able to maintain both the climate and the chemical composition of the atmosphere in a state favorable for life. Lovelock defined the Gaia hypothesis as follows. Gaia is a complex entity involving the Earth's biosphere, atmosphere, oceans, and soil, the totality constituting a feedback or cybernetic system which seeks an optimal physical and chemical environment for life on this planet. The maintenance of relatively constant conditions by active control may be conveniently described by the term homeostasis. In other words, the Gaia hypothesis suggests that there are a number of physical or chemical processes that work together to regulate the chemical content of the biosphere, and through various systems of negative feedback, the biospheric conditions favorable for life are maintained. This view of Gaia is entirely different from Dr. Sid's radical holism, but in what precise way is it different? At first glance, the Gaia hypothesis offered by Lovelock and Margulis appears to be mechanistic. They seem to be arguing that Gaia is made up of physical, chemical, and biological feedback mechanisms. But recall that earlier we defined mechanism as the position that the properties of wholes are caused by the parts that make them up. Note that Lovelock and Margulis are not simply giving the name Gaia to the combinations of mechanisms that regulate environmental conditions. They are making a much larger claim than this. They are claiming that Gaia, the planet Earth, is a homeostatic system. Homeostatic systems actively create and maintain stable environments through the interaction of physical and chemical processes. The cells in your body, for example, are part of a homeostatic system. In your body, each cell releases chemical messengers that give information to other cells about what is needed in order to maintain a stable environment for the efficient functioning of the cell. Other cells respond to that information while sending out chemical information of their own. Lovelock argued that the Earth has a similar homeostatic property. He told us that Gaia is a cybernetic system which seeks an optimal physical and chemical environment for life on this planet. The upshot of this remark is that the mechanisms that make up Gaia are not simply causal mechanisms that interact like parts of a car engine. Rather, Lovelock is claiming that Gaia's mechanisms work together to actively seek or look for optimum environmental conditions for life. That is, on Earth, physical and chemical processes interoperate to maintain and promote the conditions for life on the planet. This is much like saying that the various parts of your car engine tune themselves automatically for best performance, and that the parts of your car repair themselves. The car example highlights the fact that the Gaia concept being proposed by Lovelock is organicist, not purely mechanistic. Recall that the organicism is the position that the parts cannot exist independently of the whole. Lovelock's Gaia hypothesis is an organicist concept because it suggests that every individual living thing is a part of the whole Earth system and cannot exist apart from that system. Are the bad guys bad but right? In The Spirits Within, the hard-nosed General Hein skeptically asks Dr. Sid, "Did you come here to talk about some Gaia theory? To tell me the planet is alive, that it has a spirit? That's a fairy tale." Hein is right. Dr. Sid does seem to think that the planet has a living spirit, and in the absence of clear evidence, we probably should share General Hein's skepticism. But should we extend that skepticism to the Gaia hypothesis proposed by Lovelock and Margulis? Probably not. It isn't clear that the Gaia hypothesis is anything like Dr. Sid's conception of Gaia. Unlike Dr. Sid, Lovelock and Margulis don't suggest either that the Earth has a spirit or that it is alive. They certainly never argue that the Earth has a spirit, and the hypothesis of planetary homeostasis need not commit them to the idea that Earth is alive. Lovelock and Margulis might remind us that just because living things are good examples of homeostasis does not imply that every instance of homeostasis is in fact a living thing. So despite first appearances, Lovelock and Margulis have a little more in common with Professor Hojo than Dr. Sid. Wow, that's a sentence. I am sure that neither has Hojo's appetite for diabolical schemes and twisted experiments, but like Hojo, Lovelock and Margulis are attempting to understand the physical and chemical processes that maintain planetary homeostasis. Likewise, in his research on materia, Genova, and the Cetra, Hojo is attempting to understand the underlying physical and chemical causal mechanisms and processes. Admittedly, Hojo does not seem to share Lovelock and Margulis's organicist approach, but at the same time, neither is engaged in research that proposes anything like Dr. Sid's radical holism. Hojo's approach to science is like that of most real-world scientists. He takes an approach that is mechanistic and reductionistic. Most scientists find reductionism and mechanism attractive because they have remarkably successful approaches to understanding the natural world. Yet despite these successes, there have been philosophers and scientists who have reservations about reductionism and mechanism. In Final Fantasy VII, we see this reservation expressed in the radical holist conception of the Lifestream as an actual living thing with a soul. But in the sciences and philosophy, reservations about reductionism and mechanism are not typically expressed with general arguments for the existence of souls or spirits within. It is more common to make the narrow, simpler argument that living processes and cognition are not straightforwardly mechanistic or reducible. That is, to argue that after mechanistic and reductionistic explanations are exhausted, there remains something still to explain. For example, in the 17th and 18th centuries, some argued that living biological processes could not be fully explained by physical or chemical mechanisms. Life, it was argued, could be explained only by appealing to the existence of an immaterial vital principle or animal soul. This argument was accepted to some degree even by famous advocates of mechanism such as René Descartes, who was alive from 1596 to 1650. Wow, died at 54. Yikes. In the Treatise of Man, copyright 1637, he claimed that the physiological functions of man, circulation, digestion, nourishment, and growth, could all be adequately understood as mechanical processes. Yet elsewhere, he held that cognitive capacities such as thinking, judging, and deciding were not the outcome of such mechanical processes, but were properties possessed only by human minds. The problem with arguments that appeal to vital principles, souls, and life streams is that they have so often been defeated. Dr. Sid may seem convincing when she says that there is a vital living Gaia that is above and beyond the physical and chemical principles. But when concepts like this have been proposed and examined empirically, they often have been found to be lacking. The ongoing success of mechanism and reductionism, and the ongoing failure to show that there is anything unique or distinctive about living processes, has made most modern scientists suspicious of theories that appeal to anything except reductionist and mechanistic concepts. This suggests that we have good reason to be suspicious of theories that appeal to holistic concepts. The account of Gaia developed in the Spirits Within and Advent Children clearly relies on a dubious holistic concept of the life stream. So General Hein is right to be skeptical of Dr. Sid's theories, and Professor Hojo has some justifiable, methodological, if not moral, reason, I guess? I feel like that word's missing. To be pursuing explanations that rely on mechanism and reductionism. But should our skepticism extend to theories that appeal to organicist concepts? Lovelock and Margulis's account of Gaia proposes that living organisms interact to maintain environmental conditions favorable to life through a system of interlocking physical and chemical feedback mechanisms. So should we also be suspicious of the Gaia hypothesis? The fact that Lovelock and Margulis's Gaia hypothesis is an organicist concept and not purely reductionistic or mechanistic has made it enormously controversial in the scientific community. Some scientists dispute the efficacy of the feedback mechanisms that make up the Gaia system. Others argue that the hypothesis is too sweeping and unspecific to be testable. Still, others claim that large-scale homeostasis in ecological systems could not be an outcome of evolution by natural selection. Some, all, or none of these criticisms turn out in the long run to be correct. But aside from the specific empirical criticisms of Gaia, it is worth making the following philosophical observation. In most scientific disciplines, from physics to genetics, hypotheses and explanations employ only reductionist and mechanistic concepts. Ecology and the environmental sciences are noteworthy exceptions. In these principles, one is much more likely to encounter hypotheses such as the Gaia hypothesis that involve organicist concepts. In the closing, climactic scenes of The Spirits Within, General Hein is proved utterly wrong, and Sid's hypothesis that the planet is a living spirit called Gaia is vindicated. Aki, the young, beautiful protege of Dr. Sid, desperately tries to persuade Hein that the Earth is not under attack by a phantom alien menace. Aki reveals that the mysterious phantoms are the confused, lost, and angry spirits of an alien planet that became stranded when a meteor fragment from their world hit the Earth. Yeah, wow, the parallels to Final Fantasy VII with this are a lot more nuts than I realized. Hein ignores Aki and repeatedly fires the Zeus cannon with devastating consequences. Will Lovelock and Margulis eventually be proven right, just like Dr. Sid is? The answer to this question is unclear. At present, there is little consensus among practicing environmental and ecological scientists about whether organicist concepts are needed to make effective descriptions of the natural world, or whether organicist concepts can be eliminated in favor of reductionistic or mechanistic concepts. In the future, Lovelock and Margulis's organicist conception of Gaia may or may not be vindicated, but will Dr. Sid's holistic concept of a Gaia ever see a place in the science of our world? No. As we have seen, it contains too many dubious notions that cannot be reconciled with the reductionist and mechanistic features of science. Dr. Sid's Gaia belongs entirely in the world of Final Fantasy. The notes for this, Emergent Evolution, Qualitative Novelty in the Levels of Reality by David Blitz, 1992. Gaia, A New Look at Life on Earth by James Lovelock, 1979-1989. There's several examples of what was cited for number 3, and I'm not really reading the numbers, the in-text citations. Ecology and the Link Between the Natural and Social Scientists, 2nd edition, 1963-1975. Dialectics and Reductionism in Ecology, in the Dialectical Biologist, 1985. And then they recommend also seeing Chapter 5 of Gaia and Environmental Ethics in The Spirits Within by Jason Blahutha. Wow. Okay, so there's a whole book on that movie, apparently, from that perspective, which is pretty wild to me, but maybe not. I don't know. These all seem to work out to be about 13 pages, and I got through that one pretty quickly by kind of buckling down and focusing. So, anyways, if you enjoy this for whatever reason, either you're enjoying the philosophy, the connections to Final Fantasy lore, or I don't know why you're here. Maybe you just find that I have a calming voice and like listening to me on the commute to work. Hit that subscribe and like, and I'll see you in the next one.